Hey. So I took like 8 Benadryls and you're like supposed to go to sleep when you take Benadryl, but I'm just like not doing that. I'm just gonna talk and like look at my fake teeth. So I'm wearing dentures right now, which is like really fucking pathetic because I didn't even do math. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even done drugs. I didn't lose my teeth from drugs. I lost my teeth from bulimia. So first and foremost, sometimes you might ask yourself, like, it's actually really hard to drink with them. You may ask yourself, like what is the cost of beauty? Because I'm gonna be really honest. I have body dysmorphia and I don't like I used to always ask myself this, do I have body dysmorphia or am I just ugly and aware of it? And I think that's something a lot of people deal with, because when you look up body dysmorphia, the definition is an obsession with a perceived flaw that isn't there. And to me, that's like, that just sounds like woo woo, because it's like, what do you mean a perceived flaw? Like, that's so weird. So, flaws are objective, you know what I mean? So, I think that like it's kind of a fucked up. It's already fucked up to be like, you could only have body dysmorphia if you aren't ugly. And if you are ugly, you just feel bad about being ugly. So for me, I've always been so hyper fixated on being beautiful, which sounds very vapid, but I think these are things that it's like, they're just obvious. First of all, they're just obvious. Oh my God, these look so fake. Oh my, I'm getting real fake. I'm getting real fake ones. This is like a gag gift, which is really sad that I'm using it. Like I feel so ugly that wearing like horse face dentures makes me feel more confident than like how my teeth are right now. Cause I look like a motherfucking jack-o'-lantern, like definitely getting ready for Halloween early. And it really sucks because you know what? People say looks don't, or like there are dumb people who say looks don't matter, and that's obviously a lie. But then there are people who are like, looks aren't everything. And that's where the red pill rhetoric comes in, because for men who look into the red pill, because it's not, for women, it's like, if you're, and stop looking at my teeth. Like I have to like walk around like an Asian schoolgirl, like, oh, cancel me. But like, I feel like society is seen through the male gaze, not gays, not the male homosexuals. I mean like the male gaze. And I didn't really know what the male gaze meant. Like I kind of understood the concept of it, but I've really realized and come to the like terms with the fact that it just means that like for the most part, we live in a society where a woman is so like truly only valued for her looks. Only, like literally only, because you could have, and guys will say, well, it's the same for guys. And I don't know if that's true, because I just feel like anecdotally, I've seen a lot of like dudes who are objectively average with very good looking women. And so that makes women like me who feel like really ugly even worse if like these schlubs are like picking up hot chicks. So then what does it leave for like ugly girls? You know what I mean? And it's really funny because it's like, I think of what an ugly girl means. I'm like, well, I don't think I've ever seen a girl that I was like, oh, that's just ugly. Like maybe when I was a kid and like I had a lot more of a, I would say binary view of physical attraction. But as I've gotten older, like I genuinely think that like most people or most women are very like, they have something that could be considered attractive. So, but you know, we always hear like, actually, we don't even hear that much of the prospect of an ugly woman, because that's the thing. Women are always, like, if you think of a woman, I feel like when you think of a man, you just think of like an average Joe, right? When you think of a woman, just like an abstract woman, she's always going to be attractive, because society views women as attractive, you know, able to leverage their physical beauty for like as a currency. And then people make me feel bad for being vapid, because to be honest, I don't know if this applies to guys, but just as a girl, I really don't even feel like people will give me the time of day unless they think I'm good looking. Men, women, like just society. Like I honestly, and it really sucks because like I know there's so much more to looks like in people. Now, if we're talking about dating, when it comes to like actually finding someone sexually attractive, I'm not going to shame people for being like, oh, these are deal breakers. But I even feel like physical deal breakers. Like there's really nothing wrong with being like, I'm not attracted to this characteristic, or I'm not attracted. It's like, and if it has to do with the way, like, if it has to do with your attraction to someone, then I'm not gonna fucking judge someone for like not liking big noses or not liking, fucked up teeth, a horse face. But like, what I'm trying to say is that even socially, I just find it really hard to interact with people if I either don't feel physically attractive or if people don't think I'm attractive, because they're not going to interact with me the way that they do when they do think I'm attractive. So it's like, that's the red pill, where it's like your reality is so actually based around your appearance, because your appearance oftentimes dictates how people are going to treat you, which will always come down to how you end up feeling about yourself. Like, I'm really sick of people saying like, people say be yourself is a meme now. It's like the most I think it's like, we all know saying be yourself is super condescending. So it's like a meme. But like in general, people make it seem like it's so crazy, especially for women, to be caught up with their looks. And if she's too caught up with her looks and she goes like, has like everything done and everything perfect, then she'll be called a fucking bimbo, or she'll be called vapid. So it's like there's really only a small pool of like women who will be acceptable to society, and that's naturally beautiful women. And you might be like, why are you talking about all this shit? It's because I just feel really sad, because I see myself and I look like Jerry Seinfeld. Like, I look like those old Jewish guys. I look like Gilbert Gottfried. I look like Gary Busey. Like, these teeth look so fucking bad. But my real teeth are so much worse. And when people look at me, they think I do drugs, because most people, like, they see missing teeth and they think drugs, or most of the time they think drugs. And it looks bad, but it also like kind of has a stigmatization around it, because it's like, oh, you do drugs, like, oh, you don't have your shit together, and it looks bad. And I actually lost my teeth from bulimia. And like, that shit's so real. Like, I've had an eating disorder since high school. And it's never been as severe as it has been in the last like 2 years. And I look at pictures of myself before I got an eating disorder, and at the time I thought I was so ugly. Like, I became so agoraphobic because I was just so embarrassed of being seen. And I actually didn't even have an objective reason to feel that way. It was just kind of like, oh, I know I don't look good, so I don't want anyone to see me and like validate that from my own projection. But then I'll look back at pictures from that time and I'll be like, oh, I was actually cute. So now, like, I had an eating disorder for 2 years and I had bulimia. and my teeth started falling out. And, you know, it just felt really fucking ironic because it's like the whole point of me wanting to have been skinny was to look better. And then it's like now I'm missing teeth. You know what I mean? And it does, like, your fucking face is what people look at. You know what I mean? And it sucks because it's like so much harder for people want to get to know the real you. Like, even if they're great people, but if you aren't, so like, if they think you look like shit and you don't have to interact with them, they probably, why would they, you know, pay attention to you? And I think that's like why so many people like are so self-conscious about their looks, because it's not even so much about how we feel when we look in the mirror, because, like, I don't know, you don't have to look at yourself all day, but other people do. And it just sucks when, like, you know, you feel like the way you look is stopping you from just having a good life. You know what I mean? And I think it's so depressing how, like, ugliness could lead to loneliness. Because that's just not fair. Like, I think that's the problem. It's just, like, so fucking unfair. Like, life isn't fair. And then it's like you start spiraling into these, like, really negative thought patterns that always kind of end with you thinking, like, oh, I should just kill myself. Because it's like there's just, like, no option I could take that I think is going to be good for me. But that is to say that, like, I don't know. There's also something weirdly comforting about accepting that you just ain't it. That you're just not going to be at the level of other people that you're comparing yourself to. Because that's something I used to do a lot. I would compare myself to other girls, especially other girls that, like, ex-girlfriends of guys that I like or whatever. Girls that like, you know, my whole life, ever since social media existed, like, I would literally spend so much time stalking the fuck. Not only just comparing myself to, like, these girls' pictures, but, like, also just, like, looking into their interests, looking into just looking into who they are as people. Like, I got fascinated. And what was I saying? I literally forgot what I was saying. Holy shit. I'm on Benadryl right now. I think it's like what I'm trying to say is that, you know, if you accept who you are and you don't even compare yourself to other people, because you accept that there's going to be not only one person who's better than you, but, like, so many. Like, we live in a planet that has billions of people in it. There's obviously going to be people that at least you, like, concretely think are just better than you, whether it's how they look, their talents, whatever is your, like, insecurity. Because my insecurity is just my looks. And I think it just really gets to me because it's like you could see your identity as, like, just a soul and we're just people, but, like, we are pretty bound. Like, our energy is actually so constricted by, like, our vessels, which is our body. And because socially it's like this is our vehicle to socialize. And, like, because of all the stigmatization about all this, stop barking, there's, like, such a stigma around being ugly and no one talks about it. And there is no, it's just like, that's the fucking shittiest part of it all. It's like, we talk about mental illness, we talk about, you know, being gay, we talk about, like, being a different race. We never talk about, like, how much it sucks to feel ugly. Because it's like when you say it out loud, it just sounds so fucking stupid. Because it's like society has conditioned us into thinking that worrying about our looks is something that isn't completely normal and something that literally, it's like we all worry about our looks. We are all conscious of our looks, whether we've accepted it or it makes us sad or it makes us do fucking stupid shit to try to achieve a certain image. Because like let's talk about eating disorders, because like my mentality around eating disorders has like truly just, it's been an emotional roller coaster of trying to rationalize an eating disorder, because it's like, firstly, they're taboo. They're talking about eating disorder in like a space that isn't like cognizant of it is so fucking awkward. It's so hard to talk about. Because if you say you have an eating disorder and you admit it, it makes people look at your body and quantify whether you do or don't. You know what I mean? It's like there's like this thing where it's like, oh, I shouldn't really say I have an eating. I shouldn't say I have an eating disorder because I don't think I'm skinny enough to look like I have an eating disorder. And also it's like, it forces people to look at you. It forces people to like have an opinion on that. And so it's hard to talk about. But it's like, there's such a stigmatization around being fat. And it's like ingrained into us from such a young fucking age. I remember the first time I was like aware of my body and that it was being judged was when I went to the doctor when I was like 7 or 6 or something, and they weighed me. And I remember just like never liking the idea of being weighed. Like even before, I just thought it was like, I don't know. I didn't like having a number. I just didn't want to know what I was based on a number. You know what I mean? And so I remember that like the doctor came back in. I was 6 years old. And she told me that I was above average in my weight. I was never like a fat kid. You know what I mean? Like I was never like, there are kids who are truly like fat kids. You know what I mean? And they got picked on in school and it was really fucked up. And I just remember that like she told me I was above average in weight. And like I really didn't like that terminology even as a kid, because I remember just feeling average and below average in literally everything else. And that like the only thing I was above average with was my weight, and then that just means fat. So I just had a fucking meltdown at 6 years old in the doctor's office because I was like, she's calling me fat. You know what I mean? And that was the first time. And when I was growing up, I was like truly, like I was chubby, you know what I mean? Because I think we have like this really like, we have such a fucked up perception on what fat is. And it's like in general, it really shouldn't fucking matter. But like there are insecure people who are actually like offended by someone's weight, which I've never understood. Like I understand if you're dealing with an asshole and they happen to be fat, you're going to throw like, unfortunately, that's something that society sees as an insult. You know what I mean? We've bought into the idea that being fat is an insult when it's just what it is. And I just never understood why people would like dislike someone because of how much they weigh. Like I never understood that. Like fucking someone or being attracted to them, that's a different thing. But just like how you view them as a person and then thinking that they're like bad because they're fat. And that's why like for me, I think I developed an eating disorder in high school because like I was okay with how I looked. Like I knew I was chubby and I had no problem with it because I'm like just like normal people have different bodies and I just happen to have this one, and it's like okay. And I just started getting harassed and bullied by an in-law all the time about my weight. Like I didn't even care, and they just kept calling me fat. And they kept like doing it very like passive aggressively, and like they would say shit like just like out of left field about my weight. And something just in my head something in my head just fucking like, I don't know, because like I've been called fat before in my life before that. And it's like I would get hurt, but I'd get over it. and it would never stop me. Like, my appearance or my perceived appearance never stopped me when I was younger from like trying to like meet people or like liking people and hoping that they'd like me back. It really wasn't until like this moment in my life where someone was just always calling me fat that I just became like, I overnight, like, I started exercising all the time. I started like eating literally only 500 calories a day, and I lost a bunch of weight. And I wasn't even really aware. I just knew that I was taking the steps to lose weight, because up until that point, I was totally ignorant about like calories. I was ignorant about, like, I just thought people's body were what they were and that it doesn't change. Like, I knew food made you fat, but like, I didn't process, because it's like, I was normal. I was like, well, people have to eat, and I eat when I'm hungry. So this is what my body's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, so I just like lost all this weight, and I didn't even notice until people started making comments. And it's weird because it's like a lot of times with people who like want to be anorexic, not just skinny, anorexic, people will start saying that they look sick or that they need to eat something, and that's like fuel for them. They're like, oh yeah, like I love this. For me, like, I didn't realize how much weight I had lost initially, and people were like telling me, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to be that skinny. So then I just became more normal. And I exercised and I ate healthy, and I was like a normal, cute weight. And I was just like, okay. And then I got like severe agoraphobia a few years later. And I redeveloped an eating disorder, but this time I got like bulimia. And it just, it fucking ruined the way I look. Because my whole intention in the first place was to not even look good, but just look a certain way that no one could say anything mean about me. Like, I wanted to be so just like inconspicuous and like hidden. Like, it's almost like I truly, like, my eating disorder turned from me wanting to drop a few pounds to look hot to like, oh, let me just see how far I could go. Let me just get so skinny to the point that it's off-putting, because then I'm like, okay, like, people still don't like me, and it's because I'm too skinny, which is like something I always had anxiety about. Like, oh, the only way people like me is if I'm skinny. And then it's like, once you get past the point of being skinny and it's like scary looking, and people start like telling you that it looks scary, and it feels almost like cool. Like, I got what I wanted, and I'm not getting like bullshit validation for being ill. Because that's what I fucking hate, is when like girls develop eating disorders and they're fat to begin with, and then they like lose a bunch of weight and they become skinny, and then people are like, congratulations, oh my god, like, I'm so, like, you look so good right now. And it's just like, that's so stupid. Like, why are you promoting people to like starve? Because it's like, ultimately losing weight is just starving. You know what I mean? Like, that's the fucked up thing. It's like, people are like, we're supposed to want to look in a way that's conducive to trying to kill yourself, which I think makes humans fucking sadistic. Like, what kind of animal just like goes around and thinks, oh, I'm not going to eat today because I want to look skinny? Animals don't fucking do that. So why do people do that? Is it because we're not even surviving anymore and we have everything? Like, is that where the idea of gluttony comes in, where it's like, oh, you being fat makes you greedy because you just can't stop consuming because you're greedy? Is that like the narrative? Because honestly, it's just like, we're all consumers and we're all like getting food from the same places. So it's like this weird generational like resentment for people who are like able to get fat. But it's like, we could all get fat if we want to now, because we're not in a depression. We're not in like, well, I'm not in a country that has like a food shortage. So it's like, we've taken like our comfort and turned it into a problem. We've turned us having the luxury of not having to, survive and hunt to live. And now that we have that basic, because, survival is the norm in our planet. The norm of the animal kingdom is to survive. Animals can't just like order DoorDash. Animals can't just like go in their car and drive like a fucking million miles. You know what I mean? Like, we have so much autonomy as people, and we take that free will and turn it into judgment, and we turn it into like insecurities, and we make other people feel bad. And it's like, I never understood people who wanted to make other people feel bad to feel better about themselves, because it's like, if you make someone feel bad, they're just gonna make other people feel bad, and it's like a fucking echo chamber of hatred and self-resentment and putting that onto other people. And it's perpetual. And it's like, because so much of my depression comes from feeling judged or feeling unlikable, and how I feel like people like me less if I don't look as good as I did another day, or if I feel people like me less because I weigh more than I did when I was about to die. Like, it just, to me, makes me feel like, what is the point of friendship? What is like, how real and unconditional can love be between people? Not romantically, just in general. If like the barometer is so based around appearance. That's what fucking gets to me. Because I'm fucking sick of telling people that I'm close to that I feel ugly, and that being ugly has made me depressed, and that, like, you know, gaining weight sucks. And people want to make me feel like I'm vapid for feeling that way. It's like, yeah, maybe I'm vapid, but I'm literally just like playing the game. I'm just acknowledging the game. And the game is the red pill, which it's like, yeah, people are literally going to judge, and like, people are literally going to judge you, and whether that's positive or negative, so much based around your looks. Not everyone, because I said I don't do that with people. But that, like, I feel like a rarity in that sense. Maybe it's because I know how terrible it feels. Maybe it's because I empathize. I empathize with everyone. No matter how shitty of a person you are, I've come to that point in my life where I will at least be like, why are you like this? And I know people don't like saying, I know people don't like hearing who hurt you. That's, you know, one of the most patronizing things you can hear from someone when you're upset is, who hurt you? Because that's not even a rhetorical question. It's like, honestly, everyone has. You have. And you're hurting too. And we're all hurting. Because there's not enough love in this world. Well, there is love in this world, but it's not the stuff people pay attention to. It's not the stuff that excites people. People are excited by drama. People are, like, obsessed with drama. Whether it's entertaining or whether it's cathartic, whether it makes people feel better about their own lives, people get interested in cliffhangers and drama. When things are great and copacetic, it's boring. But it's like, there's so much more to focus on than someone's looks. And like, yeah, that's just, I don't know, that's it. That's all I could say. Like, I'm on Benadryl. I don't know why I'm talking about any of this. I just know I've been having, like, such a shitty week. And, like, I also have to say, you know what? You really might not, let me tell you, someone who's literally lost her teeth. Be thankful for what you have right now. Like, you might be thinking of your, like, past self that's better than what you think you are now. You might be comparing yourself to, like, other people who are just better than you in your head. But, like, look at yourself in the fucking mirror and be like, you know what? It's so much easier to focus on the flaws. But, like, let me just, like, change let me just try to find the beauty within. Like, let me just try to find the things about myself that I like. And be thankful for those things and let those things be what inspires you to do better. Because like as someone who took for granted my teeth and my health and just like even now, like it could be so much worse. And it might be worse in the future. I don't know. People change. And it's so much easier right now for me to feel bad about the things I've lost. But I'm trying hard not to focus on the things that I've lost and focus on the things I still have that I don't want to lose. Because you don't have to hit rock bottom to like force yourself out of it. Like you could stop yourself midway and be like, wait a minute. Like let me just be uncomfortable so for the future I could be happier than if I just keep spiraling into whatever negative influence is in my life. Everything's an investment. Invest time now for the future. Even if it's hard, even if it feels pointless. Maybe thinking about the future is anxiety inducing. But as long as we're alive, there is a future. Just like our present was the future of our past. And this is the future. And there's even more future. The idea of the future is like, it's hope. Because we're assuming it's like we have this idea that a future exists because we perceive our lives as linear and we are quantifying our present as a future because we're always living in the future. We're in the future right fucking now. Every second, every millisecond that passes is the future. So I am currently in the future than I was half a second ago talking about going into the future. And the past doesn't exist either, guys. The past doesn't exist. They're memories. Your past is what you remember. Your past is the narrative. And that's why your past could be changing as you get older as well, because everything is about your perception. And there are, there are like agents in the world that will like objectively tell you how you're doing based on conditioning that we've all subscribed to. My point is, you only live once, YOLO. If you're going to waste your time feeling like shit about yourself and not going to do anything to change it, and maybe you can't change it. That's the thing. You know what? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. What's the quote? That quote, wisdom to know the difference. You know what I mean? Like if you have something about you that's just not going to change, like height, for example, like I know guys worry about their height a lot. I'm 5'2", so I don't care about height. I think that's something girls are lucky in that sense that we don't have to actually, because, you can't get taller. So you could spend your whole time dwelling on that, or you could find inspiration, find people you relate to who are happy, and realize that life is literally what you make it. And even if you have obstacles in the way, they're just obstacles, whether it's your looks, whether it's your talents, whether it's your skills, which is talent. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, don't even compare yourself to your best self. Don't even be like, try to be the best you that you can be. Because it's like, then you're like, oh, well, what's that? What's the best version of myself? Like, how can you know the best version of yourself when you don't even like know yourself? And you don't even know what good is supposed to be. Like, oh, is the best version of myself what society would expect the best version of me? And that's why I think it's important to have hobbies and have things about you that are on the inside, that are things you earned, things you worked on. Because then you could be like, I did this. It's in my control and I did it. And like nothing anyone can tell me will make me feel any less of myself because they don't know the truth. And the truth is that I did it and I'm doing it. And that's a fucking flex. And you have to love what you do. Don't do something just because you should. Love what you do. Don't do things because you're like, oh, if I do this, I'm gonna get laid more easily. Or if I do this, girls are gonna find me more attractive, or guys are gonna find me more attractive. No. They won't, because it's not authentic and people could smell bullshit unless they're stupid. Like don't just listen to a band because you're like, oh, hot girls like this band. Or like, let me dress this way because that's what's gonna get me laid. No, it won't. I mean, it might, but is that what you want? Do you want to be judged on a fake version of yourself? And that's how I feel with these teeth. I'm like, they're like not real, so it's not a part of me. But like also, that's why it all starts with yourself. If you know yourself, then whatever physical changes you make, is it going to change the way you feel about yourself? Like to your core level. That's why don't ever do something because you think that's what people want from you. Because trust me, that's not the truth. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I don't know if it's motivational or not, but what is.